call the roll.
Winters,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Sherman,
Here.
Hamilton, here, Hannaford,
Here.
Stelling,
Here.
Wallace.
Here.
All right. First item on the agenda, or the fourth item, is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All the following items which concern reports of a routine nature normally approved at city council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. Item A, approval of the minutes of the special meeting on May 23rd, 2019. Item B is approval of the minutes of the special meeting on June 11th, 2019. And item C, approval of claims in the amount of $138,107.28 and payroll expenses of $246,919.49. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Winters, a second by Councilman Sherman to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Hamilton, yes, Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Item 6, reports from staff. First item is the Planning Commission meeting on May 28, 2019. Ms. Hamilton, you have a report for us.
Yes, it's listed in our agenda here. Let it pop up here. Maybe. Well, we did a lot. We talked about the inspector's report, how much they have, he's had to go around and do. We also talked about the mini grant, which is the repair to the buildings, retail in front, and that Alex has those forms and you can get those from that. There was a report from the Strategic Land Use Task Force. And permits issued to 18 totals for $898.15. Demolition, some of it's been taken care of. 3 have been taken through City Council. Out-of-state people are hard to get a hold of, and so there's a flat $750 fine if they don't take care of their problem that they have with their location, their land, and that'll be put onto their taxes. We talked about the lots and the information, the sizes of lots and stuff. We have a lot more to discuss about that later, but whether your lot's is in compliance or not in compliance, and we're working on that still in the other committees. We had 25 violations, 22 taken care of, 2 dilapidations, 1 squatter. They were living in a house. There's really 2 people living in it, but they have since been removed. Most of the complaints that they received are from high grass. People won't farm their yards. That's what we discussed.
Does the council have any questions? Thank you, Mary. Next item is the Alva Hospital Authority meeting on May 28, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, I was out of town at a conference and was unable to be at that meeting.
Item C is the library board meeting on June 3rd, 2019. Mr. Eckhart.
Okay, we had kind of a short meeting. We talked about they have got requirements about the 4 computers replaced, to be replacing the old ones. Those will probably be in relatively soon if they're not in currently. These will be mostly paid for with state aid funding. They had put out the bids for the air conditioning. As we mentioned before, the basement area was in need of a replacement, as well as the large unit on the roof. Those bids will be replaced as soon as those units will be replaced as soon as those bids come in. If you recall, a few a year or two ago, they had some issues with waxing the floors and getting it to look the way it was supposed to. They're able to kind of overcome that. So they've waxed the basement floors, the main floors, and trying to keep those updated as much as they can. Summer reading programs began last week, I guess. Those have been relatively well attended from what I've understood. The Lego Club especially, that had a pretty good turnout the first day that they did that. And the only other bit of information that we have was we voted to change the next meeting from the week of July 4th week to the following week, therefore not to interfere with anybody being out of town.
Council have any questions for Mr. Eckhart? Thank you, Chris. Item D is the Alva Arena Authority meeting on June 4th, 2019. The minutes of that meeting are in the council packet, but to just kind of hit a highlight or two. Really, one highlight is that the Arena Authority is hoping for or has stated a target date for 100% bid packages that were to go out June 6th, but they were thinking that there might be a delay in that target date. I have not heard if that delay was realized or not, but it is encouraging that the bid packages are near going out to see some work on that begin. If there's any questions the council has, I'd be happy to pass those along to our representative. Next item is the Board of Adjustments meeting on June 10th, 2019. Slowly come up. Can you give us a report, Joe?
Sure. During this meeting, there were pretty routine items, just minutes and minutes. For the most part, we did have one public hearing on a conditional use permit to Hooverton Plain at 615 8th Street for a mobile home. This was approved. The conditional use was approved, and then there was a variance request for a setback from 25 feet from the center line to 23.5 feet from the center line, so a 1.5 foot variance that was denied. See, there was some discussion about privacy fence at 724 ceiling. Also, this, never mind, I'm sorry, I read that twice. That was denied, and that was denied. Then the meeting adjourned. I got off a little bit, sorry about that.
Council have any questions? All right. Next item is the Alva Regional Airport Commission meeting on June 10th.
All of us trying to do it at the same time.
It was, for the most part, we did conduct our normal business of approval of minutes and other reports. We did have a discussion regarding utility billing at the airport, and that there would be a plan developed by city manager for infrastructure and billing implementation for water usage at the airport, which has not really been in place formally up to this point. So Airport Board just asked that City Hall develop the plan and keep us posted what the plan is going to be as to how it may affect airport business. We did have a report from April Mills regarding the upcoming fly-in that is scheduled for September. We're going to have, I guess, more than a fly-in. It'll be similar to the air show that we conducted last year, but it won't be in conjunction with a nationwide race going on. But with that being the case, they're looking to have some more activities out there for pilots, not close the airport down, and allow pilots to be able to come in and come out, as well as some of the pilots on site to be able to get some of their show aircraft out and fly at the event. That was about it. Happy to answer any questions from the council. The next item is the Alva Cemetery Board meeting on June 12, 2019. Lenny Reed, you have a report for us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council members. It's a very short agenda. There was a proposed piece of legislation that was not passed that would have allowed cemeteries to adopt a policy to sell unused burial plots after 75 years. Mr. Klein, who is also on the cemetery board, said that we would have to adopt that as part of our policy if it ever did go through. And I think that relieved some fears of people that were there. Another issue was some of the graves need to be re-leveled because they're sinking, and the Sextons said they will be working on that once the weather dries up and the ground dries up. And we have hired an assistant to begin helping with the upkeep of the cemetery for the summer.
I heard numerous compliments on how everything looked for Memorial Day, and appreciate Mayor Chafee and the work he does to facilitate the Memorial Day events for sure. Does the council have any questions for Mr. Reed?
No questions, but I too had a lot of comments about how nice it looked and how everybody was so cordial, so helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Finance Committee meeting on June 17, 2019. Dr. Hannaford.
We met and reviewed and signed our claims. Some of our large claims continue to be our bulk fuel or debt services. We also had a freezer purchase out of AUA fund for $31,000. I'll let Joe Don hit most of the finance report, but our sales tax, we were down a little bit from month to month this year. But our June collections compared to last year's June collections was up $45,000, and right now we're looking on pace to be about 7.7% up in sales tax from year to year. We did talk about our budget, which item in the agenda we'll discuss. Briefly, we're briefed about the pool opening today and meeting the deadlines. And then we have a lengthy discussion about the fire runs, which is on the agenda. Review the new fee structure that we had sent out for, and have a lot of questions about that, and we'll bring up a recommendation once we get to that item on the agenda. With that, I'd answer any questions.
Does council have any questions for Dr. Hannaford? Thank you, Bill. As far as the mayor's report is concerned, May was a pretty busy month with things going on. June as well, but a couple of things that I participated in. Here locally, we did have a wind energy group in town that had an opportunity to discuss some of their thoughts on what they might be doing in other parts of Woods County, how that may impact Alva. So anxious to see if some of that activity is going to continue. It would, if that happened, probably the impact on the city would be with traffic, more or less, coming through town on the highways with the turbines and the towers and everything. But probably anything that happens in Woods County, bringing in workers is probably going to be good for our local economy. So look forward to see if or what comes out of that. I know there's some federal incentives that are going to expire if work on those type of things don't move forward. I did, once a year, the garden clubs always invite me out to sign a proclamation and enjoy a little bit of tea and cookies, so I did get to do that for a day, and I appreciate their annual invitation to that. And probably probably the biggest thing I participated in was the Mayor's Council retreat was in Broken Arrow, and that's through the Oklahoma Municipal League that they had their retreat in Broken Arrow this past week. A lot of good ideas that Broken Arrow has some really good leadership in a bunch of different facets of their community, and they've been able to really do some great things with their Rose District for their basically their downtown retail shopping restaurant experience. It's really nice, but they also have done a good job of attracting some unique industries to their town. I've got to tour a company called Tactical Electronics. Their main job is building cameras for the Department of Defense as well as bomb squads and SWAT teams. So that they've got a shop of about 40 people, and they're selling stuff all over the world to both within the United States as well as some of our allies. Really cool to hear their story and see some of the things that they're doing. But also recognize that some of the talent that they have for their workforce is also not that uncommon with the talent that we have locally. So it's kind of one of those things that you don't necessarily have to be on one of the coasts to have worldwide distribution of a product and that sort of thing. So that was really neat. A lot of good networking went on with that as well, and I'm going to conclude my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the council. Business Manager's Report. Mr. Dunham.
Well, we'll start off with the city received Ready Grant, Initiative Grant, which is from USDA, Rural Economic Development Initiative Grant. We are rescheduling again our first meeting from August 8th to June 25th, it looks like right now. We were kind of going through the human resources process for the city, just to inform everybody that currently approved and budgeted positions. We have 81 full-time and 85 part-time positions. Of these, we've got 69 full-time field, 75 part-time field. We are actively pursuing 3 seasonal general labor positions, 3 EMTs, 1 paramedic, 2 sanitation drivers, and a groundskeeper for the ARC. Over the past month, we were successful in hiring 10 employees. They were full-time and part-time employees. Jacob Cox was a successful hire for the fire department. We have a part-time water worker general labor position, Drake Lewis. He is a repeat employee. A part-time sanitation general labor employee, Terry Hodgsons. Part-time ARC groundskeeper, Matthew Bickford. Part-time ARC attendants, Hayden Caldwell, Maya Stewart, and Audra Chapman. And we hired a part-time airport attendant, Jacob Darrow. The part-time cemetery employee, Mr. Reed spoke about, his name is William Parker Bussey. And we hired a park and groundskeeper for Hatfield Park and our other parks, Josh Hansel. Some of the projects that we're working on actively is our chlorination chlorination station construction. Later on in this meeting, or in the AUA meeting, we will be asking for an extension to that contract for weather. Everything else hasn't changed much except for the swimming pool. We had our inspection today around lunch, about noon. The swimming pool did pass all the inspections for this year. At 2 o'clock today, the swimming pool was open for the season. We will be having regular hours for the remainder of this season. We do have extensive work to do to the swimming pool following this season. Will be up for inspection again next season. Some of the things that we have accomplished over the past month were several grants that we had pursued that we had been awarded. We've been awarded a $5,000 of a $20,000 DEQ grant for infrastructure evaluation. There have been several entities that have been approached about helping with Budrose Park. And we did meet with Invenergy regarding upcoming wind energy construction projects in the region. The street department is working with 8 out of the 10 budgeted positions. Over the past couple of months, it's been slow going for the street department, but over the last few weeks, we've been able to finish up the work that we were doing on 7th Street, 11th Street. We're working on Barnes Street right now. We have 12th Street in the queue ready to go. That's where we're at for the time being. As far as our finances are concerned, as of May 31st, we collected $14 million. Well, we have a budget of $14 million, and we have collected 11.1 of that. We have a budgeted expenditures of $12 million, which we've actually made $10 million worth of expenditures through the year. So as far as if you don't figure in the transfers from one department to another, we are revenue positive. But once we have to make the transfers out of the different funds, we turn that positive into a negative of $234,000. We did expect and budget to have a negative effect on our fund balance that year, or for this year. We will be using some of our reserves to pay for items, but they would have been planned purchases. Utility billing right now is about 11%. It's about 11% more than where it was last year. Our aging report is we've got at the end of May we had $312,000 outstanding, with 86% of that being current and 9% being over 4 months. We have not started work on the Skyline lift station yet. We are right now in the contract signing phase of that. Expect to get contracts signed here in the next couple of weeks and get started on that project. And then the last project that we'll have remaining out of the 2018 series revenue bonds will be the booster pumps for the water tower at 14th and Oklahoma Boulevard. With that, that's the bulk of my report, but I did want to make a couple of allowances here for some time over recent activities. I've asked Chief Treacle to come and tell you about the presentation that the fire department received recently with the 100-year award. Chief Treacle.
Well, Manager, Mayor, City Council members, and members of the public, the award was presented at an OSFA convention, and firefighter Derek Nusser was one of the ones that was there to receive that award. So here in just a moment, I'll let him tell about that. I have another little project that came to fruition that I would like to tell you about, and then make a presentation. In 2016, we received private contribution for a fire department commemorative coin and or challenge coin, and the work to get that produced fell to some complication, and just in the last several weeks we received those coins, and I would like to present those to you. And while I'm doing that, I'll let Derek tell about receiving the 100-year plaque.
This is the plaque that we received, and I'll turn it so everybody can see it. OSFA was the Oklahoma State Firefighters Association, was established in 1894. In 1902 is when Alva joined the OSFA, the fire department did. And this year, the OSFA took it upon themselves to commemorate every department that had been a member for at least 100 years. Like I said, we've been a member for quite a bit longer than that, but this is the plaque that they gave, and we just wanted to make it a point to present it to the city, and so that they know why we went and get it. Any questions about it?
I didn't realize there would be such a crowd here this evening, and I brought a few extra coins, but I will retrieve some more and give one of those to all of you that are present here this evening.
If you'd like to use this one, give out your certificate. Got one this morning.
So if you don't know what the fire station looked like in 1911, there it is on the wall back there. It's combined with City Hall like it is today, but you see the horses pulling the carriage, the water tanker, if you will.
And the neat thing about it is the picture underneath it says how much it cost to build it. At that time, it was $30,000. Yeah, so.
Could we do that today?
Huh?
Could we do that today?
No. We can't do that today. Not even the floor. This next group of people I'd like to have come in, officers, Ben, Pat, come in. I had requested that they come and do a presentation over the Pack the Park event this weekend. But mainly that was just to get them here. Because we do have a special recognition award for Pat Hawley, Ben Orcutt, and Keith Dell. I guess Keith couldn't make it today. And Benny Perks. All of these individuals, well, we'll talk about what Ben, Pat, and Keith did in particular. During Nescatunga, they stepped in and took over the cooking and served the food for the Nescatunga Arts Festival. And when the community group the group was going to cook was unable to attend. A donation was made to the Kids and Cops program, and instead, the donation had been intended for the Kids for Cops, but because of their initiative, they requested to have that donation go back to the original group that it was supposed to have gone to. So those three individuals. Well, I'll go ahead and hit Benny. He didn't make it here. Oh, there he is. Come on up here, Benny. You're part of this too. Come on up here in the front. You snuck in, I didn't see you. Benny's being recognized also for, I asked him to come and answer questions about a pickup we were thinking about buying. But he doesn't realize we're probably not going to buy it yet.
So I
But,
just want to leave.
Benny, but Benny's being recognized because he was called out on his day off to come to the Nescatonga and pick up trash service when the dumpsters got full. This is a very significant event. There were 3 events going on at that time: the Nescatonga Arts Festival, the Mudslinger Shootout, and ARC softball games. And these events wouldn't have been a success without him. So these 4 employees are being awarded with a certificate of recognition. Benny, we'll do you first, so because you're there. So certificate of recognition. Two movie tickets to Rialto Theater for any movie that he wants to take his wife to. And then if he will tell me his restaurant of choice in Alva, he will have a dinner for 2 on the city of Alva, so kind of a date night for you and your wife. And then also a special day of vacation pay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Ben and Pat.
We'll get them all up here.
That's key.
Don't run off, Benny.
Yeah.
Can we get all 3 of them?
Benny, I'd like to get all 3 of everybody's picture taken. Ben, same thing. Dinner for 2. Certificate of recognition. Movie tickets. Day off. Special day of vacation. Pat? Same thing. Dinner for 2. Day of vacation. 2 movie tickets. Any movie you choose to go to. This is just our way of saying thank you for what you do. You've gone above and beyond. And we, as the city of Alva, truly appreciate what y'all have done. And you're standout members for this community for this effort. Thank you.
Okay, look right here on 3. 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3.
Good.
And one, wait, did you get
Nobody,
Thank
no
you.
one in the top?
Thank y'all. Last time I'll be able to lie to the employees to get them in.
And they're gone.
They have other work to do, so.
Yeah.
Anything else, Joe?
That is my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does the council have any questions for Joe Don? All right, thank you. Item 7. This is a big one. We have some representatives from ONG with us to help with the presentation, but the agenda item is discussion and action on ordinance number 2019-002, an ordinance granting to One Gas Inc., acting by and through its Oklahoma Natural Gas Company division and its successors and assigns for a period of 25 years from approval and acceptance of this ordinance an non-exclusive franchise and right to enter the public ways to install, operate, and maintain a distribution system within, along, across, over, and under the public ways of the city of Alva, Oklahoma for the transportation, distribution, and/or sale of gas to consumers and the public generally in the city, defining the words and phrases therein, providing for assignment, sale, or lease of the franchise, providing that the city may enact an ordinance charging persons transporting gas through the grantee's distribution system a fee on the calculated value of such transported gas, providing for use and repair of the public ways, providing for regulation of service, establishing depth of pipelines, establishing rights and duties in the movement and alteration of pipelines, providing for indemnification of the city of Alva, providing for grantees' rules and regulations, providing for inspection of grantees' records, requiring grantee to pay a franchise fee, providing for conditions of the franchise. Providing for construction of this ordinance upon the invalidity of any part thereof, providing for the submission of this ordinance to an election of the qualified voters of the city, providing for acceptance of this franchise by grantee in both an effective and operative date thereof, repealing all other ordinances directly in conflict herewith, and providing for severability and declaring an emergency. This is for an election to go to the people for a franchise agreement between ONG and the city of Alva. Marty Aller and I'm sorry, I don't know, are here to answer any of the council's questions if we have any. Do you have anything to add at this time, or?
It's a lot of words to just say it's
It's a lot of
renewal
words.
the existing franchise.
It is the current franchise agreement to renew it with some changes that were recommended by Finance Committee to better suit our community. But that is the item we're voting on, is for this to go to the people for election.
And that election would be September, I believe, 13th or thereabouts. Not for sure about the date, but it would be in September.
Does the council have any questions?
Am I reading this correctly, that we're asking for a 1% increase in the franchise fee? From 3% to
Yes.
4%?
Yes.
Franchise tax.
Which is essentially a tax, because it's a pass-through cost. So we're asking to essentially pass another 1% tax on to our citizens. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with it being a pass-through cost. Not every city in the state of Oklahoma is that a pass-through cost. My mother's gas bill, for one, I had looked at it. No franchise fee on hers. She's inside the city limits. My grandmother's, I think, was the same way. No franchise fee on hers within the city limits. And I also have issues with it being for 25 years. We don't know what's going to happen in 25 years.
I will say that we did discuss the pass-through portion with ONG, and to their recollection, there is not any franchise fee that they administer that is not passed on through the billing system. I have, we looked into this. I've read several franchise agreements from across the state, and of the ones I've read, I did not see where the language was any different than what we've been presented.
Okay?
Just, I'm not debating. I'm just saying that's what I have read and was able to discern.
I look at it as basically what a franchise agreement does is provide them to lay lines and everything without having to go to the city for a permit. If I want to do anything, I have to get a permit. I have to pay for that permit. In this case, I'm paying for ONG's permit. That's how I look at this.
Can you guys explain any of this to the ones of us that?
Yeah, so it's Dustin Frederick for Oklahoma Natural. So as far as the franchise, so we're regulated by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. So all of our rates are regulated and they're set by the commission. And so we do have a tariff that allows us for franchise fees that are negotiated with the city, that is a pass-through. So as a part of our gas bill that our customers receive for whatever individual community they reside in, whatever franchise fee is there is passed through to customers. It's an expense that goes through, so just like our rates are set based on what expenses we have, and franchise is an expense to us to operate. So from that perspective, it's a pass-through. So obviously, there's nothing earned off of that. From our perspective, it's a pass-through. Whatever that cost is, it goes through. And then we have a tariff that's approved by the commission that allows us to pass that expense through.
So what happens if either this council or the city of Alva do not agree to the franchise agreement?
You do not agree to it?
Well, I mean, just in theory, I mean, you guys still service gas, you're still regulated by the state of Oklahoma, so you can't raise the gas rates. So what happens if you don't have a franchise agreement?
Well, obviously, so currently you're at 3%, so you receive 3% gross receipts. So obviously that 3% would go away because that 3% is based off the franchise that you receive. There is an opportunity that you can pass a gross receipts ordinance, which is it's a 2% max is what you could do, but it obviously doesn't cover all classes of customers. So the impact to you all is obviously initially financially. I think you get about $60,000 a year in franchise fees currently. So with the increase from 3 to 4%, that's about $15,000 to $20,000 additional a year. And so obviously, if it went down to all that $60,000 went away, or even lower if it was gross receipts, that's a revenue impact. As far as operationally, we would prefer to have a franchise because it does lay out the rights to utilize the right-of-ways with each city that we have. So from that perspective, we would prefer to have a franchise.
The other cities you have, that's their percent too? Is that basically the same all over the state, 3%,
What?
4%?
4%, no, that would not be this. Every community is different. 4% is not the same percentage across the state. So there's different
Lower,
communities.
higher?
I saw 2 to 5% in my research.
I'm sorry, say it again.
2 to 5%.
2 to
Yeah.
5?
Roughly
I will
what's-
say that we don't have had any as high as 5. There's different utilities though that may have
And
different
that may have
amounts
been
too.
true. I was looking at franchise agreements in general.
Yeah. But ours 2 to 4, but the majority would be 3. But 4 is not outside the scope of ones that we have across the state.
But this opportunity only comes around that time franchise agreement expires, and then so
Yes.
depends what other towns, as they come through, it's possibility they may change also.
Well, I will tell you, there is a provision that's within the franchise that during discussions was added in. It's what I refer to as a favored nations clause. So it does allow an opportunity if there's another community that gets a franchise higher than what you all currently have. It helps protect you on the 25-year basis. So if one was negotiated with another community higher than 4%, the council would have the opportunity, we would notify the city, and then you all would have the opportunity to decide if you wanted to increase it to that same amount for the remainder of the term. That provision was inserted into the franchise, which would protect you on the 25-year concern. But 25 years is the max that we're allowed to negotiate a franchise, so that's where the 25 years comes in. It's not a...
So it
The
could be
number
shorter
has a
than
base.
25 years?
The number has a basis. We prefer 25 years because obviously we make investments in the community and we put a lot of dollars in each community for the pipe that we put in. So our interest would be to maximize the length of time so we can make long-term decisions for the investment we make in those communities.
And I would say that there is a clause in the contract that they do notify us when they want to use our easement. They are required to replace our easement back. We don't charge them for that. That is true.
The franchise is inclusive of
Yeah.
permit fees and things. But there is a provision in there similar to what you were talking about. If the city's asking us to relocate our lines, that's covered by us to relocate those.
So the citizens pay right now pay a 3%, it's going to be 4% tax. For you guys to have free use of the right-of-ways, how much does O&G put into the city of Alva? The community itself? I mean,
I wouldn't be able to tell you what that number is off the top of my head, what that is on, but it's currently 3% of whatever the gross receipts are. So it's defined in there as a gross receipt. So obviously it depends on total bill, what gas prices are. It's a percentage of the total bill. That's how the franchise fee is based.
If I might ask it a different way, what do you have information with you on your total spend inside the city in infrastructure or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't have that with me. I can get
I was
that.
going more with, do they donate any, are there any grants available for the city of Alva to get that can help us with anything?
They did give
School
some,
supplies,
they
or-
did give some money for the, Woodward Park project.
Okay.
We asked them for that.
I do know we have One Gas has a foundation that I know that there's dollars available that are applied to. One Gas is over 3 states. So Oklahoma Natural, but One Gas is the corporate entity, and we have utilities in 2 other states as well, but there is a foundation that they have.
Now, this tonight is just agreed to bring this agreement to a vote in September, correct?
Yeah.
In the event that this didn't pass, would there be opportunity to rediscuss, continue to discuss, or does this have to pass tonight, or it's off the table?
Well, the current franchise, if I recall, it expires in September.
Yes.
September, so there could be a lapse. I mean, if you go through a period of time where it's not, there's not an
If
election
it's not
for
voted
it,
on.
it impacts
if it's-
revenue.
yeah, If it's not voted on, we would not receive this tax during that time frame.
The franchise fee.
Franchise fee had lapsed to when it was voted on.
So to not see the lapse, you would want the new one in place by September.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Council? Is there any further discussion? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-002 as listed in the agenda. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Second?
Have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, second by Mr. Stelling to approve ordinance number 2019-002, item 7 on the City Council agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Winters,
No.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, do we have to have a motion for the emergency?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now I would entertain a motion to declare this an emergency so that it gets implemented for the current schedule.
I'd make a motion to declare this emergency.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Stelling, a second by Ms. Hamilton to declare emergency on the resolution, ordinance number 2019-002. Is that good? Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Can you say the date of that vote again?
September.
I don't know the exact day. I'll have to find it out. It'll be a Tuesday.
The 10th or the 17th, that was the Tuesdays in September, or
I'm
the
gonna say
24th.
it's gonna be the 17th. I think there's got to be the election office has to have at least a 60-day notice.
Any further discussion, council members? Please call the vote.
Stelling,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Item 8 is Discussion and action on the approval of resolution number 2019-005 to establish an investment policy for the city of Alva, Oklahoma. This is an annual item on the agenda to ensure that the money that we keep in CDs and other types of monies are invested according to our policies and bylaws. It is, like I said, passed annually before the beginning of the fiscal year, and it essentially gives the treasurer the authority to carry out our investment policy. Joe, do you have anything to add?
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-005 to establish an investment policy for the city of Alva, Oklahoma.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Stelling, second by Mr. Winters to approve resolution number 2019-005 to establish an investment policy for the city of Alva, Oklahoma. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Stelling,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Item 9 is discussion and action on the approval of resolution 2019-006 authorizing the fire department of the city of Alva, Oklahoma to charge for certain fire protection related services. We've had, prior to the meeting, I've had several calls and inquiries regarding this item and the proposed fees and rates. And I am encouraging the council to table this discussion and action in order to send this back to committee, both to Public Safety as well as Finance Committee, to bring something back that takes into account feedback we receive from the public. That I've received, or we will all receive. I'm not sure how many folks have.
Looking at the recommended fee structure, I'd make a motion to table agenda item 9 for a later date.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, second by Mr. Winters, to table discussion and action on approval of resolution 2019-006. And is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Item 10 is discussion and action on the approval of resolution 2019-007 adopting the general fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented. The budget hearing was held last week, and in order to have our budget prepared for us and ready to go for July 1st, we'll need to vote on this today. Joe Don, you want to go over?
Yes, I'll be happy to go over it. To kind of hit the top part of the general fund is that general fund, it plans for $11,252,583 in revenues, with $906,388 transferred into the general fund for operations, and expenditures at $12,267,902 for the year. Some of what this includes is, I guess first and foremost, a 2% COLA for the employees that goes into effect July 1. So the employees will receive a 2% adjustment in their pay matrix effective July 1. We have discussed and implemented insurance policies that where actually the employee gets a choice of 2 insurance policies this year. That would be the plan that we pay 100% for would actually be a 14% discount from what we had been previously been paying. If they choose to stay with the plan that we currently offer and are currently everybody is on, the employee will have to pick up the 3% increase in their policy. That's going to equate to roughly $100 a year, $150 a year for an employee that has full coverage. We did increase the benefits for the dental plan. All of our other insurances stay in effect for the employee. Our pension fund stays in effect. It stays intact for the employee. As far as the capital improvement fund is considered, the capital improvement plan, there is $6,319,296 in this capital improvement plan. This plan is everything from repair and upgrade renovations to the swimming pool, water and wastewater development, infrastructure, rec park infrastructure, airport infrastructure improvements. So those would be the highest areas that we have that would include infrastructure improvements. We've got a few vehicles, a couple of police cars, vehicle extraction machine, an electronic extraction piece of equipment. Is that right, Kirk? We've got a hydraulic, we're asking for electronic, right?
It's battery powered.
Battery powered.
Extrication.
Right. That's what the capital improvement plan includes. The revenues do include the proposed GO bond issuance and what we would receive. We'd receive $2.5 million from that. That is part of the revenue budgets. And that would be my report across all funds. I do want to take this opportunity to express my thanks to all the department heads and all the city staff that helped make this budget process as simple as it could be. It's a very daunting task, and this could not be accomplished without the input and the help from all the department heads and all the city council committees that we have in place that go in to discuss this budget. I'd just like to express my extreme thanks to all of those during this past month, or 2-month process that we've gone through. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have about the budget.
Council members have any questions on the budget? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve resolution 2019-007, adopting the general fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Winters, second by Mr. Sherman to approve resolution 2019-007, adopting the general fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Item 11 on the agenda is discussion and action on the approval of the renewal of the City of Alva workers' compensation insurance and authorize the mayor to sign the 2019-2020 renewal participation agreement in the amount of $136,327. This is down it's down about $3,000 from the premium we paid in 2018 and 2019. And it is a policy we have with the Oklahoma Municipal Insurance Group. Joe, do you have anything to add?
This isn't a $136,000 expenditure from day one. We will be making quarterly payments of $34,081.75. We are recommending that we use the escrow that we have, which is $3,204 in escrow credits to lower that total amount.
Council have any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the renewal of the City of Alva Workers' Compensation Insurance and authorize the mayor to sign the 2019-2020 renewal participation agreement in the amount of $136,327.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Winters, a second by Mr. Sherman to approve the renewal of the City of Alva Workers' Compensation Insurance and authorize the mayor to sign the 2019-2020 renewal in the amount of $136,327. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Eckhart, Martin.
Yes.
Item 12 is discussion and action to declare surplus and authorize the disposal of items which are no longer needed by the City of Alva. We do this from time to time when we have equipment that is either outlived its useful life expectancy for us or it no longer meets the current needs of our community. In your list or in your packet, you have a list of those items for the surplus. It includes a couple Dodge Chargers, 1982 Chevy pickup, another 2 Chevy pickups, 1982, 1997 ambulance, 2003 Crown Vic, Ford tractor, 2 Ford tractors. One of them, the VIN number is worn off.
Yeah.
And other, looks like an air compressor. We'll have
Right.
other items in utility authority as well to declare surplus. But these are the items for the city council. So, council have any questions, or Joe Don, do you have anything to add?
No, these are just treasures that need to be owned by somebody else.
I would entertain a motion.
Motion to declare surplus and authorize the disposal of items which are no longer needed by the City of Alva.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Sherman, a second by Mr. Winters to declare surplus and authorize the disposal of items which are no longer needed by the City of Alva. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling.
Yes.
Item 13 is discussion and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B2 to discuss contract negotiations with IAFF Local 3782, Alva, Oklahoma. I would entertain a motion.
A motion to enter into executive session. Do I need to read the rest of that? Okay.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Dr. Hannaford to enter into executive session to discuss contract negotiations with the firefighters union. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. I'm going to have to ask all of you to leave for a moment. We will get back to the rest of the agenda after this executive session. Return from executive session. There's no actions to take on item 15 with regard to negotiations with the firefighter union at this time. So we'll go on to item 16, remarks and inquiries by citizens. For those that haven't been here for public comments before, we do ask that you approach the podium. Make sure you've signed in on the register with your information. We'll give 2 minutes to each speaker. The council is not allowed to debate anything that you say. We can listen, and we will listen. And at that, I would open it up. Brandon, would you keep the clock for us? We've got a lot of people here.
Someone jumped right up there.
Volunteers?
Who's first?
I'll volunteer. Steve Thompson. I'm here to ask that we stop the citywide spraying for mosquitoes. Insects worldwide are declining rapidly. Just a couple of examples from here in town that I've observed. Prior to the spraying, I had a really large population of green lacewings in my yard, which are important predators on aphids and other small insects. And after the spraying, I've got none. I went to Hatfield Park Saturday morning, out at the pond, saw one dragonfly, and that was it. Insects are really important to us as pollinators, as predators on other insects. We have other ways of protecting ourselves from mosquitoes, insect repellents, wearing long sleeves. There's other ways to control mosquito populations, draining water in our yards, controlling vegetation, stuff like that. So again, I'd like to ask that we stop the citywide spraying.
Yes, I'll go next. My name's Aaron Place. I'm here as a father and an ecologist, actually. I've got training as a vertebrate ecologist, and I'm here to ask you to stop spraying the citywide mosquito spray as well. I echo all of the comments Dr. Thompson made, and I might add too that if the spraying is working now, there's a pretty good chance it won't be working in the future. Most everyone is familiar with antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Mosquitoes do exactly the same thing to the stuff we use to control them also. So, like Dr. Thompson said, there's lots of other safer ways to control mosquitoes. I'm an actual advocate for bat boxes. For better or for worse, I had a colony of bats take residence in my house a couple of years ago, and I didn't have a single mosquito that year. We could strategically place bat boxes in some of the local parks around town, and I think they would make a big dent on the mosquito population in town without spraying toxic chemicals.
Can I speak to two different issues that we had today?
You have 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. First, I just want to be informative about the 2019-005 about establishing the investment policy. It's my understanding that the treasurer in Alva doesn't hold a securities license, which would just mean that his investments would be limited to things that he can place with a bank. I assume that there would be a requirement where it couldn't be placed at his bank because he is the president of a bank. But I wanted to know if or how you'll decide, or for you all to think about how you'll decide what bank those are placed at, if they're CDs, and also the possibility for fees whenever you would withdraw those if it wasn't approved for the next year, since you're going to do a yearly approval process. If you put something in a one-year CD, it's got a very low interest rate. If you put it in a long-term one and then have to take it out because it isn't approved, that'll be a huge problem and a huge fee issue. My other is about the fire department fees. I just wanted to speak a little bit about some research that I've done. I spoke at length to the Oklahoma Insurance Department today about home insurance policies and their coverages for something like that. A regular primary home typically would have a home insurance policy that would have a little bit of built-in coverage for a fire department response, but landlord policies, secondary homes in many cases, vacant properties, none of those are going to have that built in. I know that there are some places where they speak to billing those that are in the county or for grass fires or something and regulating how they do that. But I did also spend some time on the phone today with all of the cities in Alva that are between 4,000 and 6,000 population. And there are none that bill a fire department fee that I spoke to, and I spoke to about 12. There are none that bill a fire department fee for those people that live within the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't get your name.
Megan Caldwell.
And how do you feel about spraying?
I don't know.
My name's Larry Horn, and I would like to address an ordinance that the city has making beekeeping unlawful in the city limits. I think it should be deleted. The reason it should be deleted is because of the Oklahoma Apiary Act and rules, which obviously is in conflict with the City of Alva's policy in their ordinance. It is, according to Oklahoma Apiary Act and rules, illegal to have bees, keep bees, in any municipalities or county in Oklahoma. And the only thing that the city can do is it can have some say as to where a colony is placed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lenny Reed, and I just want to support Dr. Pace and Dr. Thompson in their statements. I'm concerned the pesticides that it will have an effect on bees, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told when the city was spraying last time there was a radical decrease in feral cats, and of course the feral cat population does also help keep rodents and things under control. So.
Hi, Jennifer Page. I also have a concern about the mosquito fogging. I'm not a scientist like Dr. Place and Dr. Thompson. My concern is more about the way it's being communicated to the community. I wasn't aware that the fogging had started until Dr. Place told me on Thursday. I understand that it was released via Facebook on the 6th, but that notification didn't actually show up for me until yesterday, after it had already started. I don't know that that's the most effective means of communicating with the community. I think it's something that we ought to be discussing in a variety of other ways. Thank you.
Tanner Smith. I'm also speaking out about the fogging. I was reading about it today, and from what I understand, the species that carries West Nile, from what I understand, is what we're spraying for. Doesn't actually hatch until later on in the season, and from what I know, the fogging only kills airborne mosquitoes, so it kind of seems like a waste of time and money to spray for something that hasn't even hatched yet and doesn't kill the hatchlings. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Margaret Thompson, and I'm against the spraying also. I just am concerned about us. There's known carcinogens and other irritants, and it seems like everybody's got enough allergy problems without giving them more respiratory problems with this spray. And it's hard to coordinate not going outside, not having your dog outside. We can't have our dog in the house because I'm allergic to the dog. You know, what do we do with the dog during the spray? And, you know, just concerned about children and the human beings in the town.
Thank you. Any other further public comments?
If I didn't use all my time, I would also like to say that I'm against the spraying also.
Thank you. Well, if there are no further comments from the public, item 17, remarks and inquiries by council members. Council have any comments?
I would just want to thank everybody for coming out and voicing your opinions and concerns. This is, probably the best turnout we've ever had to a city council meeting. So, and then sticking around through the long executive session.
I apologize for that.
Yes, thank you all very much. Do appreciate it. And also, thank you to the police department, everyone else that was involved with Pack the Park. That was a really great event that I was fortunate enough to get to attend this year. And it was fantastic. So thank you guys for that and all the hard work that was put into that.
I'll echo Councilman Winter's remarks. We do appreciate you being here. We always welcome the feedback, and we'll take the information and take it back and see if there's any action that needs to be taken. So thank you guys. And with that, we are adjourned for the city council meeting. And Angelica, when you're ready, you can call the roll for the utility authority.
Winters,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Sherman,
Here.
Hamilton,
Here.
Hannaford,
Here.
Stelling,
Here.
Wallace.
Here.
Okay. Item 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AUA meetings will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may ask that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of consideration and action on the following items. Item A is approval of the minutes of special meeting of May 23rd, 2019. Item B is approval of the minutes of the special meeting on June 11th, 2019. And item C is approval of claims in the amount of $115,327.84 and payroll expenses of $60,070.64.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Sherman, a second by Mr. Winters to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Item 5 is discussion and action on the approval of resolution number 2019-008, adopting the enterprise fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented. Joe Don.
Well, I don't have a lot of detail to add to what I've said earlier about what was across all budgets. What I will say is that the revenue that is expected to be received from operations is $4,891,286. Transfers out to other funds for operations, $1,975,778, and total expenditures of $2,968,037.
Does council have any questions regarding the AUA budget? I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2019-008, adopting enterprise fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Sherman, a second by Mr. Winters to approve Resolution 2019-008, adopting the enterprise fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Hanford?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Item 6 is discussion and action on change order number 1, adding 55 days to the well-filled chlorination station project. As Joe Don told me previously, and as what's written in the information, the contractor, because of delays in the shipment of the flow meters as well as some weather delays, needs an additional 55 days to complete the chlorination station project with a new completion date set for August 7th, 2019. Anything to add to that, Joe Don?
No.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve change order number 1, adding 55 days to the well-filled chlorination station project.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Winters with a second by Mr. Stelling to approve change order number 1, adding 55 days to the well-filled chlorination station project. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Item 7 is discussion and action to declare surplus and authorize the disposal of items which no longer are needed by the Alva Utility Authority. Also in the packet, there's a Chevy pickup, flatbed pickup. There's a commercial freezer from the homestead, which I missed that. There should have been a refrigerator too, I think. But I guess we'll put that on later.
We'll put that on next thing, yeah. Just what I was wondering.
But
I would say on this vehicle, we just got the VIN number on it today, but on this vehicle, we will, before we auction it off, we will be removing the bed off of it. We believe that bed is useful on a separate vehicle. The freezer, we're going to dispose of by any legal means possible that's available to us, to include the possibility of intergovernmental transfer.
Does it work at all?
Just does not meet the needs of the homestead anymore.
And we basically just went bigger on that, didn't we? It would walk in significantly bigger.
Yep. It's too small.
Said there's a freezer and a refrigerator.
There's a refrigerator too. It didn't make it on this list, so it'll have to be on.
But it's all by sealed bid, it's not auction.
Right, well, we'll do a sealed bid on it.
Yes.
A sealed bid type of an auction, yes.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a motion.
I'd make the motion to declare surplus and authorize the disposal of items which are no longer needed by the Alva Utility Authority.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Hamilton, second by Mr. Sherman to declare surplus and authorize the disposal of items which are no longer needed by the Alva Utility Authority. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
All right, we'll adjourn the Alva Utility Authority meeting, and whenever you're ready, Angelica will have the roll for the Economic Development Authority.
Winters?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Eckhart?
Here.
Sherman?
Here.
Hamilton?
Here.
Hannaford?
Here.
Stelling?
Here.
Wallace?
Here.
Item 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at City Council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the special meeting of May 23rd, 2019, approval of claims in the amount of $30,342.50, and payroll expenses of $16,244.01. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Winters with a second by Mr. Sherman to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Item 5 is discussion and action on the approval of Resolution 2019-009, adopting the Alva Economic Development Authority fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented. Go on.
Again, not a lot of detail to add. The revenues that are anticipated for the Economic Development Authority will be $161,510, with transfers in of $1,069,390 and expenditures of $1,554,094.
Council have any questions? I entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve Resolution 2019-009, adopting the Alva Economic Development Authority fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Mr. Stelling to approve Resolution 2019-009, adopting the Alva Economic Development Authority fund budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.